This is Weeks in Mission Control. Welcome you to today's launch, today's space event. As you can see now in the live feed from the Weeks in Space Station, we have Mission Commander Graeme knows something. Graeme, your go for launching your inertial dampers, please.
Okay, hold on. I got to turn my gravity on. I'm floating around the space station in here. Hold on. Let me just set SCE from norm to aux. Oh, God, that's so much better. Gravity's on. Well, I feel better. Hey,
All
man.
right.
Happy Friday, buddy. Good to see you.
Welcome to the Weeks in Extravaganza, folks. Today we're going to talk about space and rovers and rockets and everything in between.
I like all of that.
I know you do. So we have a show that's chock full.
You sound really very enthusiastic, Ryan, as always.
I know. I'm using my game show host voice today.
Yeah.
Because you know why I'm doing this, right? I just want to I think we got to get this out of the way first. We have a special announcement, everybody. This is a scoop, quite frankly. You've heard it here first. But
this is big news. You may have heard about Jeff Bezos stepping down as chief executive officer of Amazon. I'm announcing that at the end of this year, I will be stepping down as CEO of Grameazon, which, as we all know, is a prime competitor to Amazon. I will transition to the role of executive chair, but I would just ask that you respect my privacy. And anyway, I'm excited to see what's my next adventure. I mean, it's really exciting. It's been a pleasure being at the helm of Grameazon. So
it really has been.
Really
well,
great.
There's been a ton of flurry and social media buzz around this announcement, and
huge
amount. There's a lot of questions about what is going to happen to Griot, what's going to happen to the Gen X Dude Crew. There's a lot. There's frankly a lot of questions. I know you're not taking any questions at this time until you fully transition into the new role. So we'll just leave it at that. Maybe tune into a future episode for an update.
I like that idea. Yes, thank you.
Maybe you could host like one of those newfangled clubhouse AMAs or something. I don't know.
Maybe I could. Maybe just like me and Elon, because we're such best friends, as you can probably imagine.
All right. Well, I think we should jump right into our gravity boots and welcome our special guest. What do you think?
Ooh, let's do that. Let's go right in. Let's get him on. I'm going to drop out. And I'm back.
And we're back. All right. Hey, Max Campbell, welcome to the show.
Hi.
How you doing?
Thanks for having me.
Graham,
I have to say, every ending is a new beginning. You can Grameazon is successful, and you're, the opportunities are wide open for you.
Well, as we say around the Grameazon corporate headquarters on a daily basis, Grameazon lives on. So I'm excited to walk away. Ladies and gentlemen, Max Campbell has joined us. Max, tell us a little bit about who you are, because Ryan and I are big fans, but we need to make sure the world knows who Max Campbell is. So tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Sure. I'm an archivist, and I work for a contracting agency that I'm now currently working at IBM. So it's one of those situations. I just studied space history in school at Purdue, and that's kind of my focus. My interests are really everything about space and the history of space. So just happy to be here and to talk about that kind of stuff and everything else.
Well, Max, this may come as quite a shock to you, but we are also big fans of space. So
I know. I need to pan down and show
you.
Wait, what?
I know your jacket, your spacesuit is really cool, Graeme, and everybody loves it. But I've got my I Need Space.
Oh, nice!
I got that.
That's nice.
That's my Gen X vibe there, people.
So Ryan, when you're having like a really bad day, do you just go around the house pointing at that, and everybody gets out of your way? Okay, I assume that's how it works.
It's hard to ignore my massive.
That's what astronauts do.
My one pack, I like to call it.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I like to just refer to mine as a keg. It's fine. So Ryan, what do we got for a list of topics? Do you have something you want to bring up on the screen? Do you want me to just start firing off questions here?
You start firing off, and I'm gonna show some color commentary if we have it.
Okay. So the first question, Max, before we get into talking about Apollo 14's anniversary of landing on the moon today, or Perseverance landing on Mars coming up, or what video games and books and all kinds of stuff you've got going on in your life, I have a question that I want to start with. And I'm going to apologize in advance because I think this question is going to be mentally painful for you, very difficult.
Oh, boy.
But I'm going to ask you to pick your favorite spacecraft or space launch system, whatever you want to call it, from Mercury, Gemini, Apollo, and Ryan, I think we have a visual for this, or the space shuttle. And just for bonus, I'm going to go ahead and throw in the SpaceX Crew Dragon as well. So if you had to pick one that was your favorite, what would you pick?
Okay.
And why?
Oh my gosh. Well, this is a very difficult question. I guess I would have to say, I mean, obviously the Apollo spacecraft are amazing and in what they did. I think it's a toss-up. Okay, so it's either the Gemini spacecraft or...
Oh, I did not expect that.
I was going to say Gemini spacecraft or the lunar module. And I'm counting the lunar module. Actually, you know what? Now that I'm thinking about it, I think I'm gonna have to go with the lunar module as like my favorite. And primarily because it is, at least to my knowledge, the only true space vehicle that was ever designed exclusively to work in space. It's
right.
only
not capable of re-entry, not capable of anything else. Yep.
No aerodynamics whatsoever. It's a spacecraft. You know, that's it. There's nothing. It's
an ugly spider, is what it is.
It is an ugly spider, but it is the closest thing to like an actual true spacecraft. I think that that NASA or the engineers have created. So I think I'd have to go with that.
Plus, it had the lunar rover, which pops out of the side, which is like a bonus.
I mean, that's always great. You always got to have
wax batteries, baby. No,
right.
Wax cooling.
Yeah, I don't know.
Something like that. Didn't it cool the batteries by using wax or something?
Yeah,
really
it would
weird?
melt. The heat would melt it, and it's a fascinating study of thermodynamics. So, or lunar thermodynamics, but yeah, definitely, I'd say the lunar module, and then maybe runner-up would be Gemini, just because that was one of the first spacecraft that was designed for a pilot in mind.
I think we have a totally real representation of a. I'm not sure what mission this was. What mission? What was?
This was Apollo.
Yeah, if you count the stars on the flag, you can kind of figure out what year this took place.
Right. That makes total sense.
Max's little face jammed into the space.
Oh my gosh!
This is literally the worst Photoshop I've ever done, but it's fine.
No, but I wanna print this out and put it on my wall next to my desk just to brighten the mood every day.
So good.
I would pick the same vehicle. It used to be the space shuttle for me, and it kind of still is, but. As Graeme will attest, I love the color orange, and you can't go wrong with it mystifies me, the construction and all the parts and everything that goes into this. And when you see this in person, like they've got I don't know if it's a replica or a copy of another.
It's a mock-up for a practice. The one that's in the Saturn V building. Yeah, it's incredible.
The one that's in the Saturn V building. It is like when you see that in person, you're like, wow.
Well, you also don't realize how big it is until you see it.
Right.
And I think sometimes people think that these things are really tiny, and they're not. Yeah. The lunar module or lunar excursion module is actually quite large. And it was cool to see it. So I like that, Max. I like the idea that it was one of the only spacecraft really built for just use in space, and it is a beautiful machine.
Yeah.
I would have to go with the space shuttle, and I'll tell you now. I have been up close and personal with a few different Mercury capsules. In fact, we have one. We have I think it's Friendship 7. No, is it Friendship 7? No, it's what was the first one? I always forget. The first one. Yeah,
Alan Shepard. It was
yes, his is here in Boston at the JFK Library. I'm going to go see it.
Cool.
But I saw Gus Grissom's. I've seen a few of them, and I agree. Gemini is amazing. Obviously, Apollo is. I mean, the end all be all. But I grew up loving the space shuttle.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it was a really big deal to me as a kid. Certainly, Columbia and Challenger were sort of these pivotal. I remember where I was moments. But the reason I love the space shuttle so much is because I am a dual citizen of the United States and Canada, and the Canada arm is on board the space shuttle. And to me, that is just the coolest. So when I was growing up, and you could actually see on the arm, it had the Canadian flag and the maple leaf and everything. I just thought that was pretty cool. So I'm going to go with the space shuttle.
That is a solid choice.
Awesome. That is a solid choice. Let's move on. Today is the anniversary of Apollo 14 landing on the moon. So I thought we could talk a little bit about that. Now, it's interesting. We were just talking about Shepard, and of course, Shepard went to the moon, which I actually still think he kind of bullied his way into that. I know he got his ear, disorder fixed and was returned to flight status, but I've always imagined he just kind of walked up to Deke or somebody and was like, "You're putting me up there." And but it's cool that one of them went, and he went, of course, and because I think there was talk at one point about Grissom would have been first on the moon, but obviously he perished in Apollo 1. But let's talk a little bit about this. We learned something interesting about can you tell me what we're looking at here, Max, and tell us a little bit about Apollo 14?
Well, I believe this is some color footage of Alan Shepard swinging a improvised golf club on the moon. He hit that ball for, what was it, Graeme? Miles and miles? I think it...
Well, that's what he said, and that's what I always believed my whole life, because that when he hit the ball, he actually said miles and miles and miles, and I've always imagined my whole life that ball just went sailing way, way off, and I've always thought, like, wow, someday someone's going to go back to the moon, and they're going to find Shepard's ball miles and miles away, and no.
Well, it made you think. To me, it always made me think that if you were in a low G environment, you become like Superman, right? You get stronger. You can jump farther. You can. I mean, golf is not an aspiration of mine, but I'm like, you could totally crank it.
But if I was super golfer, sure. If I was like golfer. Happy Gilmore on the moon, right. Definitely. But it turns out it didn't go that far. Is that right, Max?
Yeah. I don't know what the exact number, but it did not go for miles and miles, as he said. It
was like 20 meters or something.
Yeah, it's something like that. It didn't go very far. I mean, he was using, I think it was a, they had like a lunar scoop, like one of those scoops for like dogs, I guess, those kinds of things.
Yep.
Like clean up after your dog. And I think he took the scoop part off of it and used that to like hit the ball. So it's like he's not working with like a real club, he's just really improvising. But
and he did it with one arm. He actually snuck, I think it was a 9-iron on in a sock. And it was just the bottom of the 9-iron. He snuck it out, which it blows my mind away to think
that he MacGyvered it.
So he MacGyvered it, that he was able to actually sneak two balls and a club. Well, I don't know what you call the bottom of it. I mean, I'm not a golfer, but the thing
head,
at the bottom, right? Yeah. The head. And then he screwed it onto the pole that is collapsible for the sample thing. Like you said, it looks like a whatever dog thing, and dog scoop, a pooper scooper. That's the word I was trying to think of. And he did it with one arm, and he just sort of like smacked it. And so yes, I was crushed to find out that.
You know what I love about this story is that we're with the three of us, and Max, you're obviously more of an academic than us, but we're all sitting here trying to explain, like we can better explain probably the thermodynamics of the lunar module than we can how golf works.
Right.
Yeah, no kidding. No kidding.
Yeah. The big game's coming up.
Yeah. I like to think that Alan Shepard got back into the lunar module that day and turned to turned to his who was it, Mitchell or whoever was with him, and said, it's really fascinating to think that we're sitting here making history. We're on the moon, and someday two dorks are going to interview a space historian on a live stream and talk about me hitting a ball. I'm sure that's what he said. I'm sure he anticipated this moment. This is history here, people. This is how it all. This is how
I'm gonna have to insert my one small putt for mankind dad joke.
Okay,
Brian?
How do I cancel? How do I close out of this?
How do I drop? But there was something else that was interesting about Apollo 14 that they brought up there that they actually brought back. Can you tell us a little bit about that, Max?
That's right. So Stuart Roosa, I believe he was the command module pilot for that mission, and he carried with him seeds, trees, different types of trees. I think sycamore, a few others. I can't remember exactly, but he brought several seeds with him, which were they didn't go to the surface of the moon, but they stayed in orbit with him in the command module, and these were later then brought back to Earth and germinated in greenhouses and then planted all across the country. And those trees are still there today, and you can go and see them. And some are in better condition than others, obviously because of different things and stuff. But
sure,
it's really a neat kind of legacy of that of that specific mission.
So we have one here in Holliston, Massachusetts. So for those of you who are lucky enough to live here in the Commonwealth, if you go to the police station in Holliston, Massachusetts, right out front, moon tree. It's funny, you talk about Stu in the command module. When people think of the most amazing moments of the Apollo missions, there you go, where are the moon trees? Oh, and by the way, they show Holliston as Boston, which is a load of shit, just mind you. That is not Boston. I just want to be clear. I don't know who
I just want to go on record. I know there's several missing states here, but I want to point out, I can't tell exactly, but it looks like North Carolina was completely left out of this whole thing.
North what?
North. We call it North Kakalaki around here.
Yeah, we don't need no Kakalaki on a command module pilot.
Ryan, can you go on mute now? Thanks. Okay.
So, but people typically talk about, think about landing on the moon or walking on the moon or, hitting the golf ball or driving the lunar rover vehicle or finding the orange soil or, all these things or liftoff and failure is not an option and blah, blah, blah. But one of the things that I've always thought must have been an incredible moment, and I don't know if it happened on every mission, but some of them, the command module pilot actually had to get out of the command module and go on the exterior of the spacecraft to retrieve film canisters from the service module and then go back inside. And I have always thought that if somebody could just make me a virtual reality experience where I can stand on the command module as it is, and service module as it is flying through space with the Earth way ahead of me and the moon just behind me, that to me, perfect moment. Can you imagine what that must have been like?
I can't imagine. I think it was, I don't remember if it was on 14 or it might have been Apollo 15 that they did that. They called that the Deep Space EVA. And yeah, that is crazy. I think that was I can't remember who on Apollo 15 who did it, but I think that was like the record for, the farthest away from Earth that somebody was attached to their spacecraft, obviously not being on the moon, but, that is
wild.
It's weird. And it's yeah. And, so we were talking about spacecraft earlier, right? We were talking about our favorite spacecrafts and stuff. Some people consider the Apollo suits a spacecraft because they maintain all the same functionalities as a spacecraft. Life support, communications. Some of them had, I think, not food, but like a water drinking system. Cooling. It had to do all the stuff that the spacecraft did, but around a person. So that's just throwing that out there. See, yep.
Well, and then I always think of Bruce McCandless after the shuttle in the manned maneuvering unit, and there's that photo of him like way far away and spacecraft. Yeah, that's crazy. So let's see. We have
a viewer comment, and I think it's a question, and I think it's the perfect segue over to talk about some of the current missions. So Jen, one of our friends, another friend from IBM, asks about, are we excited about the Virgin launch? She's saying she aims to be there.
Ooh.
Which that we need to know more.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with this one.
I am not familiar with this either. But I mean, my take is the more the merrier. I mean, I'm loving commercial space launch. I love watching when ULA launches their stuff. I mean, the Delta IV Heavy, the SpaceX. I mean, any of those. I mean, I follow Tony Bruno, the head of United Launch Alliance, or I think that's what he is, CEO of ULA, and I'm all for it. It's great. So I'm glad Jen brought this up because I didn't know about this one. So I need to do a little bit of research and learn about it and then pay attention and watch it, because it's not only is it fun to see all of these different vehicles go, but it's fascinating to see what they learn about. And it's even more fascinating when everything doesn't go to plan, because then you really see how they're learning. Not that we would ever want anybody in danger, but I mean, just the other day when SpaceX, they did a test landing of the Starship, I think.
Yes.
And it crashed and exploded. But you know what? These are successful failures. This is how they learn what to fix and they grow from it. So Jen, I'm glad you brought that up. I'm excited to watch it.
We'll have to check it out and we'll cover it on a future episode. I wanted to talk about the Perseverance because Max, Graham and I, we've covered a few of the recent, like the first, manned mission launch a little bit ago. We covered the when the rover went up. We covered that live on the show, and I think we're all excited about when the rover arrives on Mars in
Definitely.
just 15 days from now. So we're in the final days.
This is the one that has a helicopter on it. It's crazy.
Exactly.
Yeah. And
this is what it reminds me of is we always talk about sci-fi movies on this show, but the movie I think I want to say it's Red Planet, right? That has it has the drone that goes crazy and starts trying to kill. It tries to it goes into auto protect mode because it gets damaged, and of course the AI turns it into a homicidal dog or something. I don't know.
Totally believable.
Totally believable. But this one fascinates me because they're bringing new tech. I mean, it's not the first rover to land on Mars, but it's sort of entering a new era with some of the experiments that are going to perform there.
And it's much bigger than people realize.
Oh yeah, that's the main thing, that they have a Journey to Mars exhibit at Kennedy at the Visitor Center. They have a lot of things that are sort of seemed like science fiction, but they're talking about once we send people there, once we start to farm there or explore or do things on the surface, what does that look like? What is it going to take for people to sort of not just get to the planet, but breathe, live, eat, do normal things, right? And it's very fascinating.
One of the things about this launch that I'm really excited about, something that was included in the Martian Polar Explorers that did not, they actually, I believe, crashed on entry, and this was in maybe the late 90s, early 2000s. Something that was included on that rover, but was not, that has not been included on other rovers until now, is a microphone. So there is a audio recordable microphone on this rover. So I know they're trying to record the 7 minutes of terror, I think is what they call it. That descent. They want to record that. Oh,
that's right.
They want to record the sound from that. But I just want to hear what ambient Martian, sounds like. What does Mars sound like? I
have a preview of that. Let me just go ahead and click. It sounds like this. Mars. That's science. That's science. Don't Google
but
that.
I do think it's going to change. I do have a prediction. It's going to change the face of EDM raves forever.
Yeah, it will.
Mars and rocks and Mars and rocks and Mars.
There we go. Mars and rocks. Okay. I think we have our outro music for the show today, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, I'm excited too about this one, and it's funny that you mentioned the sound because a couple of months ago, I don't even remember when it was. This pandemic, everything just is all smashed together in my mind at this point. But I heard somebody reconstructed. I think it was the winds on Venus, and you can listen to what the winds on Venus was, and then the other one was the sounds of a comet or something. I forget what it was, but that stuff blows my mind away, man. But the winds on Venus one was crazy. But those are like constructed sounds, not actual recordings. This will be an actual recording.
Yeah, I mean, I think the experiment is only supposed to capture, like the goal is only to capture the descent, and I think maybe the couple minutes after, when things are happening like that, like what you're seeing on the screen. But we all know that these rovers and the lifetimes of these experiments always outlive what they're intended to do. I don't know. I can't remember how long. Is it Opportunity? I can't remember how long. I mean, it's just like.
Well, Opportunity, I think it was Opportunity. They showed a shot of it recently, and you could see it's like wheels had rotted, and there was like holes in it, and it's still sending back pictures. Like, what? Like, it's wild.
So so that kind of stuff is always great to hear, and also it's like, some people always, not to get too negative, but some people always complain about like the costs of these things, and it's like, it might cost a couple $100 million for a rover, but it lasts for decades. I mean, this isn't one and done. This is for a long time. So that's I always like to think about that kind of.
And
stuff.
I just want to say,
it's like the Toyota Corolla of space vehicles, right? It's still going at 550,000 miles.
I was going to say the Honda Civic because I bought my cherry red Civic Si Coupe in 2009, and it's still cherry, baby.
Yeah.
Nice. Let's switch. I got another question for you. I'm sorry if you can hear this printer cranking away in my office here. I don't know. Somebody just sent a print job, and it's like the loudest thing in the world. But
you should check it. You should see if it's from.
Let's see what they're printing. And what if it's like, Dad, can you please?
It could be from orbit. We don't know. It could be from the station.
I don't know what it is. Here's a question for you, Max, because I'd love to know your answer to this. If you could have any artifact from space history, anything at all, right? I mean, regardless of budget or reality, or it's in a museum, or it would be impossible to get, because it's an IBM built instrument unit and it's currently in a heliocentric orbit. But let's just play.
Yeah.
If you could have any artifact from space history, what would you want?
Oh gosh. Well, okay. So part of me is like, as an archivist, historian, museum oriented stuff. I would say I want to kind of rephrase your question as, what would I want to see in a museum that's not in a museum? I personally don't want to own these objects because, but anyway, so I just want to just kind of.
You're such an archivist.
Throw that in there real quick. But if there was one thing, there's a lot of stuff that was just kind of left on the moon that they didn't even think to bring, like, Neil Armstrong's, like the overshoes, that he wore for his spacesuit, when he put his foot on the moon, that left foot, by the way, that he stepped on the moon, that overshoe is still there. I mean, why didn't Neil, come on, Neil, you got to grab that. Why didn't you bring that back?
I didn't know that. Wow.
Yeah. That kind of thing. Like his suit still exists. I mean, his suit's in the Smithsonian. But if you look at the bottom, it doesn't have the overshoes. The overshoes has all the tread underneath and everything. So that is still on the moon. There are some things from, I think, I don't remember if it's from the Apollo mission. I don't remember which Apollo missions it's from, but there's things where it's like, there's a camera or a film magazine that they have in the lunar module, and it's depressurized and they're walking outside and they have it in there, and then it falls out and it's like just it's on the surface, you can't grab it, it's pretty much gone. Or like I know there's a camera that during the Gemini Gemini, well, Ed White's EVA. I don't remember which mission it was. I think it was Gemini 3. When they, with the Geminis, with the Gemini EVAs, they're in the spacecraft and they just, they're in their suits, they depressurize, the doors open, and then they just kind of stand up. And so anything that's in there that's not securely secured.
A glove flew out, didn't it?
Yeah, a glove, I think, film magazines, stuff like that. So would it be, maybe a film magazine with film on it that was, never been seen before? I mean, obviously that stuff is not going to survive the harsh space environments and stuff now, but boy, that would be great to see what was on those cameras.
Well, it's nice to think that someday it's possible somebody may go to the moon and bring those boots home. I mean,
the boots.
Let's just say we actually continue as a society to be able to get out there, right? As a global society, and somebody ends up going back. It would be really cool to think that they may land near one of those sites and bring something home. I mean, hopefully it's not a urine bag, but something interesting. And,
it's gonna happen.
There's a lot of that stuff there.
Happen. Because here's the thing. We all know that it's not just NASA in the game anymore, right? And we mentioned the Starship, everything that SpaceX is doing, both in partnership with NASA, other space agencies, the launch, the whole launch platform that's being, constantly innovated for both the innovation that goes into the crew mission for the space station, for reusable space vehicles. I think we're getting to a point where one of my favorite shows right now is watching season 5 of The Expanse, and you can see how, that's a few years down the line, but there's a whole functioning society on the moon as well as in the asteroid belt that, people don't even know Earth. They were, born and raised there.
Well, Ryan, it's interesting that you show this breaking news that SpaceX says it will fly its first mission to space with an all-civilian crew later this year, because I wasn't planning on doing this today, but this is why I am stepping down as Chief Executive Officer of Gramazon, because I am going to space. And guys, I've got really good news. The two of you are coming with me.
Oh my God, really?
Yes. We're going to space.
Oh, yes, man.
We're all going up. We're all going up. Now listen to me, Campbell. Campbell, you are not sneaking any golf clubs on in socks, so don't even think about it.
Don't worry, I don't have any to
sneak on. I knew there was something up. I thought you were going to give us new cars, but I think this is much better. It's an investment in the future, really.
We're all going. So so we're going to report to training soon. But I mean, honestly, let me ask you: let's just say there was a weird lottery and you won and you could go. Seriously, would you go?
Heck yeah.
I probably I don't know. I'd have to think about it. I get real motion sick sometimes when I'm like on an airplane. So
there's drugs for that. There's drugs. We'll give you drugs. We'll work that out in the simulator.
No, you've seen The Expanse. They pump the drugs right into your spine. You'll be fine.
Oh, well, in that case,
science.
It's just science.
Hook me up and just get that injection going.
No, but on that show, that's what's fascinating to me about those kinds of shows is it's not just beaming around the cosmos. They are showing, what is the science it would take to be in a high G burn in one of these rockets in the middle, it's crazy.
Yeah.
So you just need a spacesuit and a spinal and you're ready to go.
I'm ready.
Spinal tap, baby.
If it were like space travel, like Star Trek, The Next Generation space travel, 100% sign me up. Let me go.
All right. But I think we know if it was Star Trek The Next Generation, one of the first holodeck programs you would run would be a Saturn V launch.
Absolutely.
And you would create a program that allows you to stand right next to the Saturn V as it lifts off, right? Or maybe on top of on one of the swing arms, and you just kind of hold on. Yes. Even better.
Yeah, of course I would. I'd have.
You'd
data.
ride right about there. Right about there.
That's exactly where I'd have data in there. Making that program for me.
Or would you do it Major Kong style from Doctor Strangelove?
Oh yeah.
Like, yeehaw!
Of course, you have to. Yeah. Get that cowboy hat.
I'm pretty sure I'm going to make a prediction that there's going to be something similar to that with the Starship and Elon at some point. There's got to be.
Oh, I'm sure.
That's the only way he's going to one up the sending the red convertible into orbit.
And that thing is still up there, which is crazy.
that blew my mind when he did that. That was like just, oh my gosh, that was just such a cool thing. I mean, it's like, it's so, I don't know, it's kind of dumb, but it's like so cool. Like it is
kind of dumb, but it is really cool.
That's a really good description.
Yeah.
Well, I just like to think that someday, millions of years from now, some aliens are going to find it and be like, what the hell is this? Why did they launch this thing up? Why is there a car in space? I'm assuming there's a little bit of robot action that goes on with aliens. I don't know.
Was it an internal combustion engine or was it an electric car? Because that's the first thing they're going to look at.
It was, you know what? It was the electric Tesla, and it wasn't the first electric car in space. Because
that's right.
Really?
Right, because of the rovers. The rovers.
Oh, right.
Electric power. Yeah, I remember people posting about that, and they were like, "Oh, the first electric car in space," and it's like, nope.
They're like, no.
Nope.
They're like, don't mess with the space historian.
Right.
We're representing Purdue University here.
Yeah. So you get here's what you should take away, folks. You get the cold, hard space facts here on this show.
Yes, you get the reality. Like we're all going up and wax battery coolers. Now, Max, we're gonna wind down the show here. Just tell us a couple of other things. Are you reading any good books right now?
Okay, so I am reading Terry Virts, I think is how you say his last name, the astronaut. I'm reading his book right now, and I forgot the title of it. I should have remembered the title, but I forgot it.
Tweet us later. We'll put it in the show notes.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll put it in the show notes.
It's great because he's like, it's very conversational, and he's just like, this is how I learned how to talk on the radio. And the coolest, one of the most important things about being a fighter pilot is having a cool radio voice, and that's. And he just talks about it. It's really funny, and it's really easy to pick up and read a few chapters about different space related things, and kind of put it down. That's what I'm reading that one right now. And then kind of the opposite, I guess, or the opposite end of that is the Benjamin Franklin biography by Walter Isaacson. So, kind of if there was an opposite of the space program, it'd probably be colonial America, maybe.
I don't know, man. Ben Franklin definitely would have been a badass astronaut, and I think we can all agree, because he is the colonial equivalent of a fighter jock, right? Because if we think about what they talk about in the Right Stuff, where trying to get to the top of the ziggurat, and the whole life is, what was it? It was flying and drinking and driving. That would be Ben Franklin. Ben Franklin was a hard partying man, and I think he would have been a killer astronaut, if not at least a flight director. He would have been in there somewhere.
For sure.
He had the vest for that. Yes.
Yeah, he would have been a test pilot. For sure.
He would have been. It's funny. You talked about the radio voice, and they talk about that in the Right Stuff as well. They actually talk about Yeager and how he, under any circumstance, was always super cool. And when you hear a pilot on an airline and you get on and they're like,
"Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Flight 272 to Chicago. We'll be leveling out at 35,000 feet. It's going to be a nice flight, a little bumpy."
You're making me nostalgic for not traveling right now somehow.
And so they said that they all emulated Chuck Yeager.
Wow.
Ryan, it's funny, Ryan. I was just thinking the same thing. Like, all of a sudden I miss flying.
Yeah. Why am I nostalgic for an airport right now?
I know, right?
Oh, I am. It's funny. I was talking a couple of days ago about a time I was on a flight. We had an aborted takeoff, and it was absolutely terrifying. We had actually gotten to the point where the front wheel had come up, and they aborted at that time. They actually thought they were told a sensor went off in the cockpit saying that the a cabin door, a door on the cabin had blown open. It was actually open, and the cabin was not depressurizing, but it was open. And he slammed the wheel back down, and we slammed to a halt. So I actually thought, this is it, I'm going to die because we're about to collide with something. I didn't know what was happening. It was beyond terrifying. But they finally got us parked and stopped. There's like emergency vehicles coming out. It was really wild.
Wow.
And he comes out of the cockpit in a fighter pilot's jacket, in an Air Force fighter pilot, with like all the patches on it, like like a Tom Cruise Top Gun jacket. And he comes out, and he's like,
Well, that was fun.
And like that was the first thing he said. I was like, that was fun. And he's like, you guys were never in danger. It was no big deal. And then a guy on the flight bugged out, grabbed his bag, and runs up to the front, starts bashing on the door. And they're like, sir, you like
Oh my
stop.
gosh.
It was wild. It was one of the wildest things that had ever happened.
That's crazy.
Yep. Anything else we need to know about Max? Any games you're playing? Anything else you want to tell us about, buddy?
I guess okay. I did think of another thing that would be really great to have in an archive or museum from the space program, and this is something maybe you guys are familiar with. It's the lost tapes of Apollo 11. Have you heard of these?
Yeah, I've heard of it.
Yeah, so the way they received the video footage from the moon was through the slow scan TV frequencies and stuff, and apparently they were all taped over in the 70s and
because they were reusing tapes.
They were reusing tapes, yeah. So it's and those are like super high def, and they would be so amazing if we could restore those today. But so other than that, nothing really. Just there's a migratory snowy owl in Central Park right now, so that's pretty big news for all the birders out there. Just they like to stay by the shore this time of year, so when they come inland, it's pretty cool.
That qualifies as cool for some people. I'll give you that. That's good. That's good. I'm not a birder, but actually I shouldn't say that because we've got hawks that live in my neighborhood. Mm-hmm. And that are wild. In fact, one time there was a cat going down the street, and the hawk came down and was this close to grabbing the cat, and then real big hawk went back up, and the cat's totally walking on, and all of a sudden just stopped and was like, "What the hell was that?" And we were all like, "That was almost dead cat." But that was weird. Yeah. But and we have an owl that sits out in the trees behind my house and sings it or whatever. I don't know what you call it, but does that at night. You let the dog out and hear, whoo.
Cool.
Okay, I have no bird stories. I can't compete here.
Ryan, we've talked about this. I've told you have to come prepared with bird stories.
I did not prepare for the show today.
# bird fail. All right. We are way over time on this show, but Max, what a pleasure. Yeah. When we reconvene to do the show covering Perseverance landing, honestly, I don't care what time it happens. We would love to have you back on.
I'd love to join.
Folks, follow Max. If you have any questions, let him know. We love to see space fans or apparently birders. If you have stuff that you need to know, you're looking for an interesting piece of history. We also are lucky enough in our day jobs to interact with Max and his amazing work in the IBM archives, and we get to learn the most incredible things and see some really cool stuff. So, Max, we appreciate your work. We appreciate your time coming on. Ryan, any parting thoughts, or did you think of any last-minute bird stories?
No, I'm clean out. I'm good. I'll save them for next time.
There's probably a bird in that beard. I wouldn't be surprised. All right, well, that's that. And folks, enjoy your weekend. Max, thanks for joining us on Week's End. And let me prepare. Go back into.
Oh, right.
Shut my gravity off and.
All right, here we go. We're gonna float away, folks. Oh no. It's